Beyond the Fence Line, a podcast brought to you by the Texas Agricultural Land Trust. Created by landowners for landowners, we're proud to play a role in conserving the Texas legacy of wide open spaces.
Hello, and thanks for joining us here for Beyond the Fence Line podcast. I'm Chad Ellis, the CEO of Texas Agricultural Land Trust. As we spend time, with family and friends this holiday season, I'm really excited, super excited to get to sit down and visit with a close friend of Talt's, Mr. Wyman Meinzer. Among many other accolades, Wyman is the official state photographer of Texas. And it's such a pleasure to visit with someone who has a great talent of chasing the light, and we'll talk a little more with Wyman, but has this ability and skill to capture what we love about Texas and what we're trying to conserve through our work here at Talt. And you've seen Wyman's work at Talt's websites. You've seen him in regional and national magazines. And Wyman captures the beautiful landscapes across Texas and highlights the wildlife habitat, the ranching heritage that is precious to all of us. And Wyman, thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. My pleasure to be here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, you also give that better half of Celinda a hug for me when she gets back home.
I certainly will. You can't get back quick enough.
I hear you. No, if the ones that you have the opportunity to meet Celinda, she's just such a caring, loving, just a great lady, and
Sure.
she's awesome. And
She keeps me going. I can promise you that.
Well, I'm sure she's cracking the whip and around this holiday season. And so you ready for the holidays?
Oh yeah. I'm always ready for Christmas. It's a time of course being around family and such, but also it's a time of reminiscing. I like to get with my brother, talk about the days back when we were kids out on the ranch where we grew up, and it was such great memories that we revisit, and we just have a lot of, just have a lot of fun thinking about the process of being raised in a very, very rural setting out on the ranch where we got to hunt and just be a part of the land, as so many kids should be today. I wish they could have a life like we did.
No, we've been very blessed for sure. And, and I think you make a good point, Wyman. I mean, I think a lot of people, we get, so busy, and we just don't sit back and reflect and think of the blessings and think of the things we've experienced, right? And how do we share those experiences with the next generation? Yeah,
I agree. It's just becoming more of a rarity because I know when I was a child, we would go down where my grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side lived down on the Brazos River, and just some of the greatest times. This was back in the late 50s, early 60s, and everybody sat around a wood stove, and the old timers would spit snuff on the coals and sit around and talk, and we would run in the house every once in a while to warm our hands, and then we'd reach over and knock on my uncle's wooden leg that was blown off during World War II when he battled with the Japanese over in the Pacific. And we just wonderful memories from old times. It's love to revisit them.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. One thing, and I think is, I think one of the things, right, is that I enjoy for sure, around Christmas is the giving, right, and giving things that I think mean a lot to us, and some of it, maybe some of it is those stories, Wyman, as you said, but one thing that I want to really highlight up here on front, especially is you've put a lifelong experiences in a new book that just came out, The Art of Predator Calling. And what a great gift. And I got my orders in to Celinda. So,
Okay. Yeah,
but
we got up to about sent out as of yesterday about 1,300 books in the last 2 weeks.
oh my, how's your hand?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm ready for a little rest, but I don't mind. I can give me a day and I'm ready to roll again.
Well, can you maybe tell us or share a little bit about how this book came about and everything?
Yes, you know, the idea was birthed back in 1969 when I was a freshman at Texas Tech studying wildlife biology or wildlife management, I think it was called back then. And I thought, well, I first started calling coyotes when I was 14 in 1965. And so by 69, I thought, well, I know enough about calling. I need to write a book. So I wrote about 10 handwritten pages, and it suddenly dawned on me, I just don't have enough experience at this to write a book. So 53 years later, and with journals, I started actually, I took my first notes on calling the day I called up my first coyote on October 17th, 1965. I still have those notes. 2:15 in the afternoon, rainy weather, looking into the north, and called up 2 coyotes. And it was just a little boy writing on a piece of cardboard, but I still have it. And then, of course, after I was in tech for a while, I started learning about, more complete note taking, more scientific documentation, and so I started really documenting all of my results. And then as the years passed, I became more precise with it. And so I thought, I need to use these notes in a positive way because some of this is scientific material. I mean,
Right.
when I was actually a sophomore at Tech, I got a grant under Dr. Darrell Eckert and Dr. Jaron Flinders to study the food habits of coyotes on the rolling plains of Texas. And so all these notes, it has a scientific basis to them. In fact, that particular study was published in the Journal of Range Management, January of 1975. And some of those notes, actual results, are in this book. And so, of course, back in the early days, all I did was hunting. But in the last few years, I've really concentrated on photographing because I know from experience that people are very visual. You can write, a book, I don't care how large it is, it could be the size of an encyclopedia, but if it doesn't have images, it's not gonna go because people are so visual.
Right.
And so I finally decided that it was time to share all this great imagery and knowledge. And it's not about, the book is a sort of a hybrid. It's a visit from a scientific angle, natural history. It's a book that someone in a easy chair who can't go out, they can read and enjoy the images, the visual, the photographic images that are there, because there's lots, I think 120 images, action shots and static shots, and each caption defines what's going on. This is exactly how it's done. It's not about how to kill, but it's how to call and observe animals. You can photograph if you want to. You can use it as a hunting aid, and also it can be a sort of a resource for learning something about the natural history of the coyote and bobcats and fox.
No, it sounds amazing. I mean, it's everything Wyman, right? It's the photographer, the scientist, the caller, trapper, hunter, marksman, pioneer. I mean, it's everything in one.
It's all encompassing. And what's interesting is it's timeless. The earliest documentation of calling that I found in my research occurred in 1854 by Randolph Marcy when they were looking for the headwaters of the Red River, and his Delaware Indian guide was using a reeded instrument, quote, to attract antelope within rifle range. And in the process, they call it a lion, a mountain lion, and it almost overran them before they shot it. And as he put it, it is a dangerous instrument to use in wild country. And that quote is in this book, in the very, very early pages of this stages of this book. And so each chapter is actually from journal entries of mine throughout the last 50 or more years.
Wow.
And then it expands. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're less than a little over 2 weeks away from Christmas, so I hope folks get their chance and get their order in time.
If they want to, they can go to wymanmeinzer.com and then click on the official store, and they can order from that. And we will wrap them up. I'll sign them. I'll personalize them. They just need to indicate to whom they need to be personalized, and we'll get them off, get them sent in. That's
great. Well, hopefully, I encourage everybody. I mean, it's just I'm excited. Like I said, I got my orders in to Celinda, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great. I hope you like it.
Oh, I will. I know I will. I think over the years, Wyman, I mean, what have you found that has inspired your work the most?
Well, oh my goodness. I started photographing when I was just a kid, and I don't know, it was just documenting happenings, documenting natural history, aspects of creatures. But in the early years, the cameras weren't worth a flip, to be honest with you. And right. I kind of lost interest in it. And then once I attained or was loaned a camera by Dr. Eckerts to document some of the data that I'd taken, I realized what a 35 millimeter in Kodachrome could do. And so early on, what fascinated me was the playing of light on the subject, whether it's mountains, whether it's plains, cities even, and people, the way the light plays on the faces of people. All of that was an inspiration. Because I remember before I even realized that was a significant element in my imagery, I had a New York editor tell me one time, he said, you have a way with light. You have an eye for light. And I'm just going, wow, I never thought of it that way. Mm-hmm. It was just something that attracted me. And so in the early years, I was just interested in wildlife, but I finally, after about 10 years, I expanded into an all-encompassing what defines Texas: people, culture, landscape, skyscapes, weather, wildlife, and all of these things really attract me. It's just I just got to have the right kind of light, and I can go with it. When you get so involved in something as simple as the natural history of a dirt dauber, which 2 summers ago I became fixated on dirt daubers, and I spent weeks photographing those daggone things. And I mean, we see them flying around. There's the yellow and black ones, and then there's the iridescent blue ones. Right. And I didn't realize until I got into really photographing them that the blue ones were specific to killing, or I should say paralyzing and taking to the nest for their larvae to consume black widows. Mm-hmm. Yep. And the others are specialized just in the normal little spiders that you never see, the ones down in the grass, and just minute, almost transparent little spiders. But the iridescent blue ones are specific to hunters of black widows. And something as simple as that can get me really going with a camera.
Those bring back memories to me as a kid. Wyman is, I lived in this old ranch house in McCullough County, and tons of rattlesnakes, tons of black widows, but we had tons of those dirt daubers you talk about, and it makes sense, right? I mean, obviously we had the food for them right there in the barn.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, it's something that I don't even think we've had this conversation before, Wyman, is I have two of my children, my daughter, Kiona, who's 17, and my son, Nathan, who's 12, are both photographers themselves.
Mhm.
Kiona is a state ambassador for 4-H for photography, and my son
Great.
is going through their junior master program for photography. And
Oh, wonderful.
uh, and what's some advice from your years of experience and wisdom to help share with Kiona and Nathan and all other and photographers that are inspiring uh,
Hmm.
to do that. Any thoughts for them?
Yeah. Keep it real. Keep it real. That it's very simple. Whenever I started out in the 70s, it was Kodachrome 25 and 64,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to be right on the money. Every image that you created, it had to be thought about. It's not. It wasn't just a kind of a afterthought. Click, click. 10 or 15, and then I probably have it, and then go to the house and get on
Yep.
Photoshop.
Right.
And you had to really put some thought into every image. And I see so much today of photographers or people who like to create images not taking the time, not going out when the light is right, and then going into Photoshop and say, well, I can fix it there. I knew a person one time that would take a shot and it would be two stops underexposed. And I say, well, listen, you're underexposing every one of them. Well, I can fix that later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't do that.
Right.
I approach every image, even though I've been shooting digital for 20 plus years. I approach every shot as if I'm shooting Kodachrome 25 or 64 or Velvia ISO 50.
Yeah.
It's like, this is my one and only chance. And if, when you're shooting digital, and you're especially in the raw images. In JPEGs, it's not that big; they're pretty well finished up. But in raw images, which that's all I shoot, they're not going to be right on the money. They're going to be a little flat, not quite as sharp as they ought to be. So you have to go in and do a little bit of work. But too many people overdo it.
Over Eddie. Yeah, I agree.
They
Yeah.
way overwork the image. You make them way too contrast. Too much definition. And I can look at an image right off the bat, and I go, you know what? That's been fixed too much.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep it real, and make that first shot count. There's sometimes you have to do, you'll have enough time to do others, but when you approach a subject or an image, act like it's your one and only chance. You'll never get another. And
Great.
think about it.
Yeah. Those are great comments, and I think definitely tidbits that I'm going to definitely share with them. And I agree with you. Yeah, I know they'll be excited to hear about that. I think other thing from youth, right, is actually to me is mentors, and I'd love to kind of maybe jump into that, right? Of who were some of those your mentors, and I'm sure, Dr. Eckert, I'm sure, is one of them. But what are your thoughts around that?
Of course, Dr. Eckert, he was my major professor at Tech, and he just wanted me to document my data so that the research would have more weight to it, carry more weight. And even today, he'll just say, well, I just loaned you a camera. It's the best I could do. But my early years, I remember vividly when I first really started studying photography on my own. There were 2 or 3 people who really resonated with me. One of them was Ernest Haas. And I remember he was from Germany, but he photographed also out of New York. But I remember his coverage of the West. A lot from the air. and we're talking from, I think, from the early '60s, because I think now he was using Kodachrome 11, which I can't even fathom that. And the color in those images were just so exceptional. And then you got Elliot Porter, who was a medium or a large format shooter who actually documented the canyons of Arizona before they built the big dams that flooded those scenic canyons. And then during the Depression, Margaret Bork White documented. She was hired to document the misery of the Depression, and I was always fascinated by her work.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of those played a large part in the way I saw the land and saw light, and really appreciated my subject matter. I'm very selective with it.
Yeah. It's amazing how you find those and how those inspire you, and how it comes into what you've developed and the talent, and sharing that talent across to so many people, right?
Yes. Well, I hope I've been an inspiration at some level.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, there's no doubt you have. And I would say, if your photographs could really say something about you, what would they say?
Well, just my appreciation, that I do appreciate all forms of life, the landscape. I appreciate, it's like if I go to an area that, okay, I'm a big history buff,
Right.
and I appreciate yesteryear. I really, look into the early or the late 19th century and the way America was. And if I go, say, for instance, to a big ranch, I try to photograph aspects of that ranch that depict a time that's long gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that's something that people say, wow, he looks for that rare aspect that no longer exists in too many places. Too many places do not have the elements that define the land that once was.
Right.
And so that's what I hope that my images show, and not just being an image, but make people think, wow, this is just something that I never believed possible.
Mm-hmm.
That could exist, that still exists.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think you do capture that. And I think, one of the things that you capture, right, is, all the things that, to your point, I think a little bit that concerns me, and I think concerns you, of these challenges we see coming across Texas, right? And
Mm-hmm.
specifically our rural landscapes, and those heritage and legacies of the ranches. And what do you see those main challenges being?
Well, I think, to me, at least, it's land fragmentation.
Yeah.
Having been raised on a ranch here in the Rolling Plains, it wasn't a really big ranch, 27,000 acres, but it was big enough for a young boy and his brother to have a lot of fun on. And I'm really concerned about the frequency that land areas, family ranches, even the really big ranches, are becoming more fragmented, to where you don't have that legacy. They're lost.
Yep.
That we once had. That's what Texas is all about. Is when you think Texas, you think about big country, big landscape, big ranches, magnificent legacy, something that you can really, that's historical. And to see these pieces of land, whether large or small, whether they're 100 acres, whether they're 100,000 acres, some of them I've been on are 500,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
See these places being fragmented really distresses me.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, right? I mean, we're losing probably closer to 1,000 acres a day of those working lands, and we're
Oh,
gaining 1,300 people a day, and
yeah,
those that intersection, right, of those pressures, one is hinders that freedom to operate to our other fellow landowners, ranchers, and farmers across the state, and
mm,
it's just there's a lot that you know a lot of us have to come together to come up with solutions, right? And to help.
yeah,
uh, You know,
yes, sir.
kind of through the years, right? We're on our 15th year anniversary here at Talt, and through those 15 years, you spend a lot of time with the landowners that we work with.
Yeah.
You have photographed a lot of those ranches, taken part in those conservation easements, and
Hmm.
what's your take on Talt's work to conserve our ranching heritage and landowners you have interacted with over the years?
Oh, I think it's just a fantastic effort. I mean, it's a heroic effort. I salute you for it, and the landowners, I salute them for actually caring enough about maintaining the legacy of their property, and putting it into Talt and preserving it. It's just I know that it's you're probably not running any 500,000 acre places, but still, there's just so many of the smaller acreages that are so important that they remain intact. Um, and you guys are doing the job, and the landowners, I salute them for going into it, and with the point in mind to maintain the heritage and legacy of the ownership that they started years ago.
Yeah, no, it's special. I mean, there's I'm very blessed in the job I have, right, is to partner and to work and help empower those landowners. And as you said, every acre matters, right? I mean, every acre is providing right resources back to clean water and clean air and many things back
Absolutely.
to all Texans, and it's very
Yes.
definitely very special. Uh,
Yes, sir.
we've think about all those photographs and you traveling all over the state and working with those landowners in our 15th year anniversary. We've put together a short video highlighting some of the work, and we're really excited here at Talk to share it with our audience. And what is it about photography, these priorities appeal to you?
In what way now? Just come again with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna share a lot of those clips and put in a video and share it without kind of this aspect of 15 years and highlighting a lot of your work
Hmm.
and kind of through the lens of Wyman. And what is it about having those opportunities of photography and capturing those
Oh,
snapshots
yeah.
and those landscapes or those properties that
Well,
really. Yeah.
yeah, Chad. I look at each one of those properties as a different personality.
Yeah.
It's like each property is meeting a new person in your life,
Right.
and being able to define that person, that property, through the photographic image, and that's a lot. I find it just a joyful experience, because each time that I approach one, you look at it, you evaluate it, and you think, okay, this is what I have to do to really offer it to the viewership in a manner that maximizes, the beauty and the appreciation that the owners have for it, and that I have for it as a photographer, which is, a lot of it is from a sort of an artistic angle, and I love to do that. It's like a painter doing doing a palette. They're absolutely, it's part of their personality that's being put out there. And through my photography, I'm not only showcasing the land, I'm showcasing my own personality and my own love for that land through the photographic image.
Yeah, that's so well said, Wyman. I've always said, right, every ranch, every farm has its own DNA, right? It's just like us individually, right? They have their own soils, their own potential, their own beauty, and their own gifts that they give all of us. And
absolutely.
And you take it to the other level of providing that photographic kind of snapshot and history of that, and that's the beauty of it for sure.
And I love doing it. I just absolutely, just thoroughly love it.
Yeah. Well,
and also, I'll tell you, going back to the camera, the basic elements of the photography, the drone has really, really helped me on another platform. I mean, of course, I'm a pilot, and I used to fly and photograph at the same time, but now a drone has totally changed my whole approach, and it gives me so many more opportunities to show the land from an angle that otherwise I just couldn't do, because you can stop, and isolate one spot, whereas in a plane, you're going 70 miles an hour, and as you go by, you hope you grab it and do so without stalling out. And because you're flying yourself and with the door off. And I know that in the early years, I've been to so many places that I would love to go back to with a drone. You talking about knocking the socks off of somebody. Man, I could really make a show, but these places were so rugged and so difficult to achieve the images that I want. Boy, a drone would have been a godsend.
Mm-hmm.
And that has really, really added a whole new platform and a new, ability for me to really create that personality that the land exudes.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about it. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your passion with so many people, and I know, speaking for everyone, we thank you for all those years and
you bet.
Capturing that.
Well, I appreciate what you guys. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys are doing and give me the opportunity to see these different pieces of land, because like I say each one has its own personality, and it's like meeting another person in life.
Yeah.
And it just adds to that collection of special personalities that you'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still, in my memory, I can still pull places up that I've been to for a talk that will always be special places in my heart. Just the sheer beauty and the I don't know. It's just really, really a great opportunity that you guys have given me to see some really, really nice places that I'll never forget.
Well, we appreciate you capturing those, and one of the highlights of everyone we work with is at the end is getting the photographs that you're able to capture, and those are get to share. Not only are they putting those properties right in a perpetual easement for the next generations and generations to keep coming, right? But they're able to share your talent with their families forever too, and it's very special to them.
Yeah, it's my honor. It's an honor for me to do it, to be a part of all of it.
Well, thank you again so much, Wyman, and just want to thank our listeners for joining us as well, and look forward for everybody to catch us next time on Beyond the Fence Line. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Chad. You bet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a blessed one.
Beyond the Fence Line is brought to you by the Texas Agricultural Land Trust, dedicated to conserving the Texas heritage of agricultural lands, wildlife habitats, and natural resources. Find out more at txaglandtrust.org.